Happy Friday. It's been a while. I wanted to read something here from Charlie Reese. Charlie Reese was a reporter for the Orlando Sentinel, and when he retired, he had 49 years on the job, and this was his last article. It's entitled 545 versus 300 million people. Politicians are the only people in the world who create problems and then campaign against them. Have you ever wondered if both the Democrats and the Republicans are against deficits, why do we have them? Have you ever wondered if all the politicians are against inflation and high taxes, why do we have inflation and high taxes? You and I don't propose a federal budget, the president does. You and I don't have the constitutional authority to vote on appropriations, the House of Representatives does. You and I don't write the tax code, Congress does. You and I don't set fiscal policy, Congress does. 100 senators, 435 congressmen, 1 president, and 9 Supreme Court justices equates to 545 human beings out of the 300 million are directly, legally, and morally and individually responsible for the domestic problems that plague this country. I excluded the members of the Federal Reserve Board because the problem was created by Congress. In 1913, Congress delegated its constitutional duty to provide a sound currency to a federally chartered but private central bank. I excluded all the special interests and lobbyists for a sound reason. They have no legal authority. They have no ability to coerce a senator, a congressman, or a president to do one thing. I don't care if they offer a politician $1 million in cash. The politician has the power to accept or reject it. No matter what the lobbyist promises, it is the legislature's responsibility to determine how he votes. Those 545 human beings spend much of their energy convincing you that what they did is not their fault. They cooperate in this common con regardless of party. What separates a politician from a normal human being is an excessive amount of gall. No normal human being would have the gall of a speaker who stood up and criticized the president for creating deficits. The president can only propose a budget. He cannot force the Congress to accept it. The Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, gives sole responsibility to the House of Representatives for originating and approving appropriations and taxes. Who is the Speaker of the House? At this time it was John Boehner. Not sure if he's still there or not. He is the leader of the majority party. He and fellow House members, not the president, can approve any budget they want. If the president vetoes it, they can pass it over his veto if they agree to. The House has passed a budget, but the Senate has not approved a budget in over 3 years. The president's proposed budgets have gotten almost unanimous rejections in the Senate at that time. It seems inconceivable to me that a nation of 300 million cannot replace 545 people who stand convicted by present facts of incompetence and irresponsibility. I can't think of a single domestic problem that is not traceable directly to those 545 people. When you fully grasp the plain truth that 545 people exercise the power of the federal government, then it must follow that what exists is what they want to exist. If the tax code is unfair, it's because they want it unfair. If the budget is in red, it's because they want it in the red. If the Army and Marines are in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's because they want them in Iraq and Afghanistan. If they do not receive Social Security but are on an elite retirement plan not available to the people, it's because that's what they want. There are no insoluble government problems. Do not let these 545 people shift the blame to bureaucrats, whom they hire and whose jobs they can abolish, to lobbyists whose gifts and advice they can reject, to regulators to whom they can give the power to regulate and from whom they can take this power away. Above all, do not let them con you into the belief that there exist disembodied mystical forces like the economy, inflation, or politics that prevent them from doing what they take an oath to do. Those 545 people, and they alone, are responsible. They and they alone have the power. They and they alone should be held accountable by the people who are their bosses, provided the voters can have the gumption to manage their own employees. We should vote all of them out of office and clean up their mess. Charlie Reese was a former columnist of the Orlando Sentinel newspaper. And what you do with this article now that you've read it is up to you. This might be funny if it weren't so true. be sure to read if you find this on the internet. So I read that because over the last couple of years, I've had a few people say to me I should run for office, and I've always said, no, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. But as of late, I've had quite a few of them come to me and said, you need to run for office. There's two things that just hit me enough to say, I'm going to give this a shot. That article, and a woman that's running for Senate in Rochester as a Democrat. She's the biggest bully. I don't know if some of you saw this, but I'm getting tired of it. I'm tired of the bullying. I want to hear what you really have on your mind as to how you're going to fix this problem. So here's where it gets tricky. I can't file a notice of writ that I would like to run. So the people that have approached me and anybody else who would be willing to do this, I would really appreciate it, because I need to be written into the ballot in the primaries on September 13th. So when you go in, you write my name in instead of voting for the others. If I get 35 people to write me in, then I'm on the ballot in November. I don't expect to win, but I want to prove a point. And that point is, they do work for us. We can take them away, and it needs to start at the state level. What do I want to accomplish with this? I want to show people that even the average person can get in there with the right attitude. You don't have to be a millionaire, although it helps. You don't have to follow their agenda, although it helps. I'm not going to follow it. I'm going to do what I think is right. I'm going to vote the way I think I should vote. And I'm not going to be coerced in either direction. So with that said, September 13 is the primaries. I'm in District 24. Write in Timothy Wells. Please make sure you watch the spelling. It's very common. But if you miss one letter, the ballot gets thrown out. If I make the ballot, I'll turn in my financial affidavit with the state, and then we'll go from there. If I even get 200 votes, and that's not a lot, in November, the next 2 years I will campaign my rear end off to get into that office. And I'm hoping people follow me, because it's time for the politicians to go, and it's time for us to take this country back. Thanks for listening.